Hi guys, this is a video solution to Week 2 Lab 2 using while and for loops. First, we have to write a Java app that prints out the first 25 numbers and sums them up using a while loop. And second, repeat the above but this time using a for loop. Above, we have the basic syntax for both while loops and for loops. So let's start a new project in Netbeans. And since we'll have two different types of loops, let's note that the first is a while loop. And we'll start by declaring variables. The first one we'll need is of type integer, and we're going to name it count, and we will start counting at 1. The second one is also integer, and I'll be naming it sum and initializing it to 0. Then we can start our while loop. To start a while loop, you need to type while, open parentheses, some type of condition, close parentheses, and then in between the curly brackets, you need to put the equations or whatever you need that will happen as long as the condition is true. In our case, we want to keep counting and keep adding numbers until we reach 25. So we have while count is less than or equal to 25. The following things will happen. First, we need to print out these numbers. So I'll put print out first 25 numbers. And we'll use system.out.print count. Second, we'll need to sum up these numbers. So sum of first 25 numbers. And we need to write an equation for this, which will be sum equals sum plus count. Third, we know that we will need to keep adding to this count plus 1 every time the loop goes around. So we will be using the syntax count plus plus. And lastly, we need to make sure there are plus symbols in between each number. To do that, we'll do system.out.print and a plus symbol. So let's see what this gives us so far. Okay. So it shows that we're adding the first 25 numbers. And we need to show that this equals a sum. Now, we only want one equal sign, not 25. So we will be putting this outside of the while loop. So system.out.println equals plus sum. Let's run it again. And there you have it. The first 25 numbers equals 325. Now this makes sense because as you're going through the while loop, you see that first the sum starts at 0, but then as we keep increasing the count plus 1, you're adding the count to the original sum and it equals a new sum, and this loop keeps continuing until we reach count equals 25. So this is the end of using the while loop. Next, we'll be using a for loop. So using for loop to do lab. And we will need new variables, so I will just call it int index equals 1 and int new sum equals 0. And start our for loop. In the basic syntax for a for loop, we need to start typing for, open parentheses, some start value, some n value, and then we need to increment the number. So for us, we'll have for index starting at 1 to index less than or equal to 25, we'll have index plus plus. Inside the for loop, we'll have that the new sum is equal to new sum plus index. Just like what we had before up here in the while loop. Then we'll have prints out first 25 numbers, system.out.print index, and system.out.print plus sign. Outside of the for loop, we'll have system.out.println new sum. And let's run it. So as you can see, after running the program, we get the same exact thing using a for loop as we do using a while loop. So sometimes when you write programs, there's more than one way that you can do something, and it's just which way works for you. Now let's actually check if the sum of the first 25 numbers is correct. This may be tedious, but it's really good to check yourself every time you do a program to make sure it's right. So I'm going to declare a new variable, int check, and I'm going to type out all the numbers. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Then I will do system.out.println check and run it. And indeed, I do get 325. So this is how I know that the loops I did were correct. You could always use a calculator, but since I'm already on the computer, I decided to just type it out. So I hope that this was helpful to you guys. Thank you.